Good afternoon, everybody. This is Bastien at Cornerstone in Salt River. I'm just checking in. Paro mentors, I see that you are here. Do you have any students in your class?
No students yet. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you just repeat that, please?
We have no students yet.
Okay, so Paro, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to broadcast this. I'm going to broadcast this tutorial anyway. So if you close down or not because you don't have students, it's not a problem. I'm going to be posting this tutorial onto YouTube so that students can access the information at a later stage. So I'll understand if you leave the room, but I am going to start the tutorial now. You can write in the chat when you need to go. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, so welcome to everybody who is watching this maybe from home. If you're a viewer at home, we welcome you. Q&A has been enabled so that you should be able to write any questions and we can answer them verbally to you. For those of you who are watching this after the fact, this tutorial is on worldviews and critical thinking skills. And because we were hoping to have an interactive tutorial, it was going to be about how to create a worldview map and how to apply that tool to your reading on Muhammad and the message, the Islamic worldview. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you the input and then I'm going to show you how to make a worldview map, and then if you want to apply that to the Islamic reading, then that is what you are welcome to do, and you can also send me some scans of your maps, if you make any, via the messaging system on Funda. So let's get started. There are various elements of a worldview map which we need to consider when we're looking at any worldview. So I'm just listing them for now. We'll get to the visual aspect of a worldview map just now. First of all, we must look at whether there are enough points to say that there is actually a worldview. For example, what is its prime reality? What is its external reality? What does it have to say about death? About what it constitutes to be a human being? How do we know in the worldview the difference between right and wrong? How do we know what history is? How does the worldview consider history? And how is it that we know what we know? Another thing that is important, or another element that is crucial to a worldview map, is whether it sits on an orthodox or conservative or fundamentalist or liberal side of a curve, shall we say. Where on the rainbow does it sit? We need to know that so that we can understand where the worldview is coming from. Every worldview, whether it says it or not, has a set of doctrines and also a belief system. In other words, doctrines are usually found where they are written down, but sometimes the doctrine can be extracted by looking at how people behave or how they act or what they do over a period or longer period of time. Belief is what the personal belief statements are of the people who are within that worldview. Hello, Dr. Brooklyn. Welcome. We're just looking at the elements of a worldview, and we are hoping that you're going to be part of the tutorial in which we draw up our own worldviews. Can you hear me, Dr. Brooklyn? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Brooklyn. At the moment, we are busy working on the elements of a worldview map, and we are going to be drawing our own maps using the Muhammad and the Message article by Burnett. So it would help if you are able to get that up onto your screens or in front of you as well. So at the moment, what we were saying was that you need to have the sacred texts, stories, myths, and legend that also contribute to the making up of a worldview. Then there's also the issue of rituals. Every worldview has rituals that are special or sacred to it itself. In Islam, you might say that it's the 5 times prayer a day, the daily prayers, or fasting during the month of Ramadan, or going on Hajj to Mecca. These might all be seen as rituals which are particular to the Islamic worldview. Daily life is one of the hugest describers that one can find in a worldview. In other words, everything else may be quite a bit abstract, but you will notice the difference in worldviews in how people live their lives. It's often the way we find out how different worldviews are made up. Then there's something I've called the filter. That means taking a snapshot of where the worldview is at present. What are the shifts and the changes in the world context? For example, in Islam, you could say that the worldview might have changed somewhat since 9/11, when Al-Qaeda took responsibility for bombing the Trade Center buildings. So that might be a particular worldview shift. That is one of the filters through which we view a worldview from the outside. People within the worldview may also have shifted and changed their ideas on this. So these are the elements of a worldview map. But now, what do I actually mean about how to draw such a map? Well, what I've done is I have brought with me a copy of a worldview map that I've had done in class with other students. I hope you'll be able to see this, to move. Can you tell me can you see this map? Can you read it the right way around? Does it read okay? Doxa, can you read it? You can, more or less? Okay, good. Okay. Paro, do you have any students yet? No? Okay. All right. So this is what a worldview map looks like. This one is based on modern Judaism and in the Orthodox tradition. So what the students did here was they took all the elements of the worldview. So you've got how do they know what they know, human history, how does the worldview view that, how do they know right from wrong, how do they know what it means to be a human being, what does this tradition have to say about death? For example, the external reality, the prime reality, according to Sire. So what they did was they mapped just Sire's bits over here, but there are still clearly more parts to a worldview which we need to include. They have written in underneath right and wrong, for example, the laws within the Torah and which are used to guide Jewish people. So the Torah is a book of law, and that is used to guide people. So they fill in, according to this structure, what they have found in various articles about the worldview. Another way of looking at this could be like this. Okay, so you could see this as a worldview map where you have doctrines and belief and so on, and you would make a map according to all the different parts. So what I want to encourage you to do is for this tutorial is to have your Burnett reading handy. That's this one. And it is the one on Muhammad and the message. Okay. Dr. Brooklyn, can you indicate to me whether or not you have a copy maybe on your desktops of the Burnett article?
We're looking for it, but where can we find it under the resources? Hello?
Okay, you can find it under, you can find it under, it should be under the Islamic readings in resources. On Funda, under resources, there should be the Islamic reading there under Unit 1. Then you will find Islamic reading and it should say Burnett. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm pleased you found it. So, Doxa, what I'd like you to do so I'm going to give you some time where I'm not going to interrupt you. And I want you to just look over the reading, and I would like you to make a map, like the one that's behind me here on the wall, on the board, some kind of a map. I'm going to put up the elements so that you can see that you've got the elements that are needed. And then I'd like you to take 10 minutes and just fill in all the elements that are required to make your mind map, your world map, worldview map true. So there are the elements of the map. Now I would like you to draw on a piece of paper. It can be a lined piece of paper. It can be any sort of piece of paper. You can just draw it all together and make a picture like the one that I showed you behind me, or whatever you like. You can be creative as you like, but you mustn't just list the elements. You've got to say, for example, what does Islam say about death? How does it view, what rituals are particular to it? What is its doctrine, its main doctrine statement? Okay, if you've got any questions, either write them or you can ask me, okay? Okay, have you got something to show me? Well, it's good. Hold it up a little longer. Yeah,
This is baie mooi nie. Must we explain it because it's not written that nicely?
Okay, it's looking good to me. I see you've got the elements down. You might want to make it a bit bigger. You might want a bigger piece of paper or expand it. But for now, that's looking very good. Can you see how you can use this as a tool to match it with information about worldviews?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's falling.
That's absolutely wonderful. It's great to see you being able to engage with the reading and put it together with a map. That was very fast work, so very well done. Would you like to expand on it a bit more?
Yes, jy praat.
Well, what will they say? Maybe those basically same concepts.
Yeah, but the most important thing of their worldview is pertaining to Allah. They have to follow laws and regulations to get favor and to be able to enjoy heaven, and so it's a lot based on their laws and the things they have to do, the rituals they have to do. So it's not a lot of grace in their religion. And yes, I think the whole worldview is based on Allah basically, and how He controls and rules your life.
Okay, so you can also have a look at page 116 in the article, where Bernard actually says that he looks at the 5 pillars. I couldn't really see whether you had the 5 pillars or not, but they, on page 116, will tell you about what the different things, the rituals, the giving of alms, the fasting. Can you find that? Okay, well done. Yes, thanks. So you found that. So now fill that in on the map. If there are any viewers at home who would like to send any questions about the Worldview map or who would like to make one as well, please will you just write on the Q&A. Doc, so I'm going to look at this now. Okay, wys weer vir my. Okay, much better. You're starting to get a map in. Very, very good. It's starting to become a very detailed map. So that's starting to look fine. Okay. Are there any other elements that you think might be missing when we look at the map? Okay, Doc, so how's it going with finishing off the map? In particular, you can look at what Bernard says, Islam says about time. That's on page 118.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, we just added that community is very important to them. That time is linear, and that relationship is more important than time. So again, the community is emphasized, and their sacred text is the Quran. And a myth or a legend we just thought about of ourselves is Muhammad the Prophet. Is the story of Muhammad the Prophet that is almost like their Jesus.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to make, thanks very much. That's looking very full map. Well done. Okay, so what we're going to do is that I'm just going to explain to you why it would be a bit difficult to find a, let me just see where we are here. So the input I want to give you is just that in Islam, there isn't much room for a mythological explanation. And that is because legends about the Prophet were actually woven in at the same time, and you will find a lot of these things that aren't proper historical stories. But what I also want you to know is that Islamic theologians try to disregard the these storytellers and mystics wanted to make the Quranic revelation more understandable to the masses by filling in the short texts with descriptions which were not found in scripture. So the mystics tried to maintain the purity of the divine word, but there was also an attempt at spiritualizing the Quran and the popular legends that developed around it. And that's the way of giving the Quranic words a deeper meaning. So you're not going to find myths that are in the Islamic tradition very easily. They would stem mainly from what you would read in the Quran about Muhammad's story and how he became to be the prophet and how he discovered Allah and so on. Do you know if there are any similarities between Judaism and Islam?
They believe in one God and a creator that is like the creator of everything.
In the Old Testament.
Yes, so that's correct. So that their idea of religion means that they rejected many gods and they took on just one God. So that is what they have in common with, in a way, Christianity, but also Judaism, which is why they are one of the what's called Abrahamic faiths. So that is in essence the tutorial for today, really, is that I just wanted you to see how you can make a map and that these are the tools. And that if you have everything of this map on the page, then you will have what is necessary to explain a worldview to somebody. So you did very creatively by managing to make the map, so thank you for that. And yes, can I have some feedback on how you found this making a map of a worldview? Any feedback on this exercise?
Through it.
Yeah, it's very cool that we can do it practically because then we learn it more, you know, like it sticks in our minds more because we do it actually, like physically. So yeah.
Thanks, it's very helpful. We're trying to do more and more practical things in these tutorials. So whenever you're faced with a worldview you've got to look at, you can now make a map. So you and the people who are watching this, hopefully you will be able to make your maps. If you want to, you can message us your maps so we can have a look. It's great to be able to go visual and look at a map. I'm going to end this tutorial now unless there are any questions. Are there any other questions about anything that you want to ask?
Just one question. Just again about the myth or the story or that kind of thing about a worldview. Like I understand, like it's basically in like African traditional religion. It's like all these weird stories about animals talking to humans. But like in Islam and in Christianity, I just want to make sure: is it just like kind of the Bible stories? Is that a myth? But Christians do not see it as a myth, they see it as truth.
Okay, so the way that we're seeing myth here is not a story that is false. A myth is a very, very old story that's being retold because it's telling us something about an original situation that should be repeated. So when you're looking at it in Christianity, what you might look at is the parables and the legends that came from Jesus. There are lots of stories about Jesus that aren't in the Bible. You can find them elsewhere. But for example, the parables that Jesus told about the kingdom of God and the coming of the kingdom of God, those would be considered legends or parables or stories, particularly the parables, that would explain a lot about how Christianity works or how Christianity views itself. You can see that through the parables. So in Islam, you wouldn't find that so much because the mystics were the purists, and they most certainly didn't want to have any stories about anything. They just wanted to stick straight to the text, whereas Christians love telling parables. That's one of the stories. In Jewish tradition, you'll often find that Jewish humor often communicates things about their belief pretty well. You'll find a funny story, you will find a sung story, stories that are sung. Excuse me. So it all depends, but please don't see a myth as a story that's incorrect. A myth is rather a story with transformative potential because it can help somebody who hears it. So in the same way that a parable might teach, a myth is a story that tells you about the history of a place or a person or an idea. Does that help? Okay. Thanks, that's great. All right, are there any other questions that I can take at this time? Okay, you're good. So it just remains for me to wish you a very happy holiday tomorrow and enjoy your voting day next Wednesday. And I hope you vote if you can. And we'll be seeing you again soon, and we'll be posting onto Funda. So I'm going to be signing off now, and wish you a very good week. Goodbye.